Let me begin in the same energetic manner as your chairman began, by saying again, good morning.
Good morning.
The energy in this room is palpable. The way each one of you introduced yourselves, the way at 7:45 everybody was here, the discipline that I see that you all maintain, the commitment to purpose that I see is just extraordinary. This is one of the most inspiring experiences so far for me. Very inspiring. Because each and every one of you seems to be on purpose. Let me begin our conversation by dwelling on that very word, purpose. I was doing a little count of where all of you come from, and I saw represented in this room several activities. I saw real estate, hospitality, retail, profession, financial services. I saw a complete diversity of innovative enterprises. People doing things which are rather niche. And I saw that despite all this diversity, all of you are meeting together on one platform. So there has to be a purpose which is to be served. May I request one person from each of these key activities that you all are engaged in to share with us what is your purpose, and then I will share with you the purpose of Microsoft and Google. And let us look at how the world has changed to redefine purpose. And I'll tell you a bit of a story about these two great organizations in the world and how they have become what they are. Because I saw in one of your slides that all of you aspire to get to 1,000 crore plus. Am I right?
Yes.
So let's start with that. Let's get 3 or 4 purpose statements from all of you. Anybody can start. Yes, sir.
Enhance quality of life by innovation.
Fabulous.
We look after the health of the health industry by supporting the innovative solutions.
So innovation, health, industry.
Yes.
These are 3 keywords.
Make steel pure, make country pure.
Fabulous. Is that your purpose? You'll continue to do that till the end of time. Fabulous.
Make Vastu Shastra as a global service industry.
Global service. Fabulous. And Vastu Shastra, because that's your core domain and core skill.
So my purpose of business is to give safe access to workers at any point of act.
Fabulous. What a great purpose. Yes, sir.
Always be into this creative ability and take the whole community into creative ability.
Phenomenal. Community, gathering people. Yes, sir.
Help people to live quality life.
Fabulous.
My purpose is to develop biodiversity parks on the line of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Yes, please.
Alliance you can rely on. That's what I would.
Very good. Trust. The word is, the glue is trust.
To enable socio-economic upliftment of our stakeholders by creating ample opportunities for growth. Our stakeholders are first hierarchy-wise. Our employees, then customers, then vendors, then owners, then society around us.
Fabulous. Fabulous. I'm very touched by the fact that you put employees first. Very few people do that.
Make people like this.
Too good. Yes, sir.
You can be fit but not healthy. At the same time, you can be healthy but not fit. We help you very stand.
You know, I'm standing here today in front of you only because I took this lesson to heart. I spend 2 hours every morning on myself. Nobody disturbs me. Even this morning I woke up at 4:30 to do my yoga and breathing and whatever else I do. So that's very important. Let me share with you how Microsoft switched its purpose. Okay. What was Microsoft's purpose 10 years ago? Its purpose was to put a device in front of each and every one of us. On every desktop should be a Microsoft device. That was their purpose. And they wanted to capture you by making sure that you used only their way of operating, the operating system. It was proprietary. So they wanted to get a lock on you by putting a device on your table and locking you in to streams of revenue, because there was a proprietary system which enabled that device to operate. Simple purpose. They grew to billions of dollars on that purpose. Then Satya Nadella came to the fore, an Indian who thinks very differently. He redefined the purpose of Microsoft to mean that you choose what you wish to do in the technology world, and we will help you. That's the new purpose of Microsoft. Whatever you choose to do in the technology world, we will support it. This change in purpose has made Microsoft the most valuable company on earth. Bill Gates, after having given away billions of dollars in charity, again ascended to the height of the richest man in the world without doing operating work at all. He does not spend a minute on running Microsoft's operation at all. If he is asked a question, he will give a motivating reply. That's about all he does. Yesterday, the founders of Google decided to step away from operating Alphabet. As you know, Alphabet is the holding company of Google. Alphabet takes moonshots. So they want to create the autonomous vehicle. They want to have space travel. They want to make flying cars. They want to do health for all, longevity forever. Those are the objectives of Alphabet. And they've been losing money hand over fist, as you can imagine. This doesn't make money, these kind of moonshots. So they asked Sundar Pichai, again in India, to take charge of Alphabet. So today, Sundar Pichai is in charge of Alphabet and Google. So he is the CEO of both Alphabet and Google. Shall we just applaud the fact that in two of the world's largest companies, Indians are at the helm? It really tells me that something is happening which we are not recognizing. And I think that that's something is that the world has begun to capture the true spirit of why each and every one of us needs to be on purpose. And for us to define purpose in a way that we will reach out to the largest portion of the human race that we can is really what makes these great corporations as great as they are. So if you draw just a simple single line through all the top 10 companies of the world, top 10 in market cap, you will find only one thing common, that potentially they can address the need of the entire human race. Just think about it. Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, Alibaba, Tencent. You go down the line and you will find that each one of these companies, great companies, and many more Chinese are entering this list than ever before. Let's recognize that as well. All of you, when you were stating your purpose, you had in mind the desire to serve, the desire to make sure that you made a difference to a community. Now, I don't mean by community defined by any religion or any belief or any geographic region or anything, just community. People that you felt were bound to you in some way. That is the new emerging thought in the world. In the last 3 years, a maximum number of books have been written on the idea of community. Raghuram Rajan, Thomas Friedman, all of them have written. There's a fantastic book called Thank You for Being Late. And the reason why he says thank you for being late is that being late gave him the chance to converse with a very small, simple vendor outside the New York railway station. So the whole book is built on the conversations and how disengaged people felt and how you can bring them back. And the only thing that brings people back is community. You represent that. Why do you feel great being here early morning on a working day? Because it's community. It's a glue. It's trust. It's that feeling that other human beings care for me. That's a very important glue. The world's corporates gave up the single purpose of corporations to be the enhancement of shareholder value. They gave it up and moved to defining the purpose of corporations to serve humanity, to be on purpose. I think this background is critical for us to understand what is happening in India. And I want to go from that macro level right down to everything that we have seen happen in our country. So what have we seen? Big picture that all of us, if we think a little carefully about it, will immediately capture, is that we have delivered universal basic income and universal basic services. You heard UBI? How many of you have heard of UBI before I mentioned the word, the expression? UBI. You have heard of it. You have heard of it. So, that has happened to the whole country. But only 2 people noticed. Actually, what has happened is that the whole direction of government seems to have taken on a new purpose. The purpose of delivering service universally. Every person in this country today has an identity, right? Aadhaar. Everybody. We are having big debates in Parliament on citizens and on registry and whatever else. But those debates will go on. The fact is that from nowhere, India became one of the few countries in the world which had a unique identity for every person who went up to the station that was created by the government and got an identity. All of us have an Aadhaar card. Anyone in this room not having an Aadhaar card? Anybody? It's astonishing, isn't it? Everybody in this room and every family in this country has a bank account. कोई है इस रूम में जिसके पास बैंक अकाउंट नहीं है? सबके पास है ना? Universal. Open defecation free villages. पूरे इंडिया में पहुंच गए. Next क्या होने वाला है? Or I can go on, and there are many examples of universal. And universal income has been delivered through many programs of the government. What was inefficiently done as a political dole has been converted to effective delivery into a bank account through the government programs. These are facts. You know, this morning when I woke up, I decided that I want to get disengaged from all earlier held mindsets and just see things as very broad, very clean, very truthful facts. And these are facts. I can't imagine. I couldn't have imagined 10 years ago that every family in this country will have a bank account, or that every human being in this country will have an access to a facility which is private. We are now beginning to enter the realms of privacy. So what else did happen universally? The enforcement of the law has become visible. One of the big reasons for a mood of despair today is the conversation. I was there at the ET Awards. Rahul and Anil Bhai had with Amit Shah and Piyush and Sitaram. That conversation had two stories underlying it. Why are you coming out after us in a way that is scaring us into submission? Why are you making it difficult for us to criticize you? Rahul Bajaj said this openly in his own inimitable way. जैसे आपकी शैली है ना, वैसे उनकी शैली है. अनिल भाई ने ये कहा कि what is wrong with private business? He says you open the CEO library of the whole world and you will find that a large proportion of the CEOs of the world are Indians. I just give you two examples. Very coincidentally, I didn't plan it that way, but it just happened. So, he says, why should government be in business? Now let us connect the dots of what is happening. One, we have got a situation where the thrust is to deliver universal basic needs and income. Because it is not possible to give every Indian a job, a 9-to-5 job. Not possible. At 6.5% unemployment and about the same underemployment, we feel we are in recession, right? All of us feel we are in recession. I feel that way. Everybody talks to me like that. Just 6.5%. So it's not as if it's like 20%. But the point is, what somebody, I think you were mentioning to me at the beginning of the lecture, that the idea now has to be to give somebody a job, not to get a job. And the extension of that idea, which I mentioned to you, is to see if we can live in a connected world and disintermediate everything, clean out the arbitrage, and work together. Today the means are available, right? Each one of us has a device. We can be connected multiply to as many people as we choose, right? You can create full communities on your device. So why should you not be able to create all value in a collaborative, community-driven way? That is the single biggest challenge that the world has been given by ubiquity in what? Which is the only thing that connects all of us. Spectrum, right? Wi-Fi. Ability to connect. If that becomes infinite, then we can be in touch. And if search becomes infinite, then I can create communities of what I need to do right now and every time I need it. And I can change the community every time I need to change it. Think about it. What power that gives or puts into the hands of each and every one of us. So that's the new environment. What are the three big lessons that come out of this? You need to start thinking about separating ownership from governance, from management, from execution. Big lesson. Come 1st of March 2020, Mukesh Bhai cannot be chairman and managing director of Reliance Industries. Because you mentioned somebody carries food to his home every day. I picked his example. He cannot be, by law. The position of chairman will be separated from the position of managing director. So the governance role will be handled by the chairman, chairperson. Please pardon me, all the females in this room, if I lapse into any gender biased term. I mean it to be applicable equally. Very powerful force will be unleashed. Underneath this first layer of management will develop layers upon layers, like we have seen in Google and Microsoft and everywhere, of executive leadership who will be in charge of fulfilling the mission and the purpose. The setting of the purpose and the fulfillment of the purpose will be done by different individuals. And the system will create internal checks and balances to make sure that this relationship works efficiently and effectively. For what purpose? To deliver value to the human race. Second big lesson that is coming out. think this conversation will gather huge momentum. All of us think that pricing power means the power to raise prices. Am I right? What is the meaning of pricing power? I can raise price. Correct? Anybody dissenting with that? Pricing power in this new world can also mean the power to reduce prices dramatically. It's huge power. The entire telecom industry was captured by, again, the person you supply food to every day. Simply by reducing the cost of voice to zero. Right? I was stunned yesterday. I had to buy strips to measure my blood sugar every day. The cost of those strips has fallen by 20% since I last bought it. I was stunned. And it made me think that the world is changing, our definitions have to change. And I'll share with you what are the forces which are making this world so new, so fast. But this is a fact. The cost of stents has fallen, the cost of treatment for chemotherapy has fallen dramatically. My blood measurement strips have fallen by 20%. The doctors in the room will realize that this is important. It's a signal. But there are drivers to this. So, what are the drivers which are making the world change so dramatically? There is what is called exponential technologies. Is that a familiar term? Exponential technologies. What do these exponential technologies do? What are they delivering? And what I have done is I've created a map of where you all come from, and I'm going to pick one exponential technology from each field that some of you are part of. Okay? So let's talk about industrial IoT, Internet of Things. IIoT. What does IIoT do? Imagine Johnson & Johnson's manufacturing facility, the biggest manufacturing facility of Johnson & Johnson. Imagine that. It would have multiple machines, multiple weighing scales, multiple facilities, manufacturing facilities, trying to work in tandem with each other. So अगर weighing scale आपकी फैक्ट्री में से 1000 है, उसमें से 2 में कुछ खराबी आ गई, तो आप कैसे ढूंढोगे कि कौन से 2 में ये खराबी है जिससे पूरी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग रुक गई? Teams of people go around, test, do, whatever. Right? But if every one of your 1000 weighing machines had a sensor which tracks against what it is supposed to do, what it is actually doing. Simple. Very simple. And if that is fed onto a dashboard using cloud computing, edge computing at the manufacturing facility, sending the message to the cloud, downloadable to the guy who's looking at the dashboard, you will know instantaneously कि ये 2 machine खराब है, उनको ठीक करो. Manufacturing में रुकावट कम हो जाएगी, eliminate हो जाएगी. The more you use sensors and the ability for sensors to talk to each other, that is Internet of Things, right? It's very simple. जैसे हम एक दूसरे के साथ बात करते हैं, ऐसे हर एक मशीनरी को एक दूसरे के साथ बात करनी चाहिए। अगर सब बात करेंगे तो वैल्यू कम्स, एनर्जी कम्स, ट्रस्ट कम्स, better productivity comes. So there was a fantastic study done by McKinsey and Company in collaboration with the World Economic Forum, which talked about manufacturing 4.0. Only one company in India made it to that list. It was a steel mill of Tatas. And even that steel maker, because that's your subject, is not at the peak level in terms of exploiting the full value of IIoT. But just imagine what happens when you have a trillion sensor world. 2020 will be the first year in the world's history where there will be a trillion sensors. जो एक दूसरे के साथ बात कर सकते हैं। 5G आ गया, 5G के बगैर ये सब एक्सपोनेंशियल टेक्नोलॉजीज चल नहीं सकती। 5G is a reality. Small side story on 5G. Who created 5G? Anybody? Who created 5G?
Chinese?
No.
Japanese?
No. It's amazing. Nokia.
Yeah, tell me. Tell me.
Okay, very good. But Nokia sold its entire handset business to Microsoft, which of course is now closed down because Microsoft redefined its purpose. But Nokia invested every dollar that they got from selling their device making capability to Microsoft and deployed it into 5G. Huawei, which is the Chinese fellow who came next, actually was a follower of Nokia. Even today, Nokia is very much in the race and very much delivering it. But back to our story. This IIoT is an exponential technology, which if deployed ubiquitously, and it is possible. There's somebody who's a system integrator here. I heard you're a system integrator. So what does a system integrator do in the IIoT world? Is bring all of these facilities to bear on every manufacturing location, where to choose sensors, where to get gateways, where to install them, how do you connect them, how do you create the whole network, how do you put together edge computing, into the cloud, back again. All of this is done by a system integrator. And we have all the top companies in India, all the top IT companies of India, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, L&T, all of them are SIs, in a sense. And every major new technology industry is going to become an SI to bring together this exponential technology. Just imagine what will happen to manufacturing productivity in India or anywhere in the world, and what will happen to price. So think about it, market. Very critical exponential technology. Let's take another one. Many of you are in, which is the next one I want to deal with. Let's say real estate. Real estate is most prominent in this group. So let me give you two notions that are evolving in the world on real estate. Our mindset is that real estate has to be used for housing people, residential, or for giving people a time out or hotel. And you may rent it, you may buy it, or you may use it for an office. वहाँ हमारा दिमाग रुक जाता है. उसके बाद क्या करेंगे? रियल एस्टेट एज अ रेंट करेंगे, बेचेंगे, ऑफिस यूज करेंगे, रेजिडेंशियल यूज करेंगे, एंटरटेनमेंट का यूज करेंगे, और क्या करेंगे? एनी अदर मीन्स? So what the world has discovered is that you can have vertical agriculture in unused pieces of real estate. China is experimenting at 400 locations to establish vertical agriculture in unused real estate. China में तो बहुत unused real estate पड़ा है, बहुत. जहाँ अपने को लगता है बहुत हो गया, वहाँ तो उससे 10 गुना, 15 गुना, 25 गुना होता है. China builds everything on scale. You don't care about whether somebody will use it or not. वो होगा. So, vertical agriculture. What is vertical agriculture? I've seen it in Jain Irrigation's experimental little farm. So you will see a tall mesh of fine steel, non-corroded, on which are hanging multiple plants with open roots. And you can, through jets, supply nutrition to those roots. And through drip irrigation, you can supply only as much water as that particular plant, which is determined by artificial intelligence and machine learning, will need. So just imagine that you have this verticalized farm. ऊपर उग रहा है सैलड, बीच में उग रहे हैं वेजिटेबल्स, नीचे उग रहे हैं छोटे छोटे बेरीज, और उसके नीचे उग रहे हैं क्रॉप्स जो हम खाते हैं एक जगह पे. This is exponential technology at work. You have used AI, you have used ML, you have used soilless agriculture. Now imagine what will happen to land. हमारे यहाँ सबसे बड़ी समस्या फार्म में ये है कि सबके यूनिट्स बहुत कम हो गए, छोटे छोटे हो गए, क्वार्टर एकड़, आधा एकड़, 1 एकड़, 2 एकड़, ऐसे हो गए. Now imagine that for sustainable farming, you need only a quarter acre. Then the guy who's a quarter acre farmer can have the aspiration of putting up vertical agriculture. But the guy who has 2 can perhaps sell 1.5 acres and have it redeployed. Imagine what happens to purchasing power, pricing. And these plants, mind you, grow much faster. So you don't need to take 2 crops, Rabi or Kharif. हम तो इसी में रुके हुए हैं. 6 crops ले सकते साल. So the productivity gains can be exponential. Water usage can be cut to 1/100th. 1/100th. And you've used up real estate. So what is happening here? What's the big lesson? That the world is discovering ways to use assets innovatively. I heard the word innovation around the purpose statement a lot. That's what the world is trying to do. Innovatively use assets. And the world is also seeking to change the ownership of these assets so that the new owners have the more enlightened thought process on how to use these assets better. So that's the second set of exponential technologies. Third is retail. I think 2 or 3 people are in retail. It's being disrupted like nothing else. We all know e-commerce. E-commerce तो ठीक है, पुराना हो गया. What's the next phase in retail? next phase in retail is suggested buying based on AI/ML determination of your usage patterns. So imagine you're a consumer, you're living your life. Somebody has mapped it. All that information is available, sent to the cloud. You have given permission to share this information for the purpose that you are willing to get benefit from. So some algorithm will determine who is in the best position to supply exactly what you need. For the ladies in the room, do this thought experiment. Think of you decide that you need a dress for a party next week. The theme of the party is Shanghai, it's China. So you need a new dress in 1 week, unique. Nobody should have had it. So what will happen is that you will have a augmented reality, virtual reality setup in a retail space, which will enable you to see for yourself how you will look in the parlor. And you will be the model in that virtual reality who is walking down the ramp wearing the dress of your dream. Then you point and pick and say that I want this one because this is where I look the best. That dress at a fraction of the price that you might pay today will be delivered to your home by drone delivery, and the price will be taken away from your bank account digitally. Now replicate this to all human fulfillment. You dream of something or you use it, but I buy diabetes medicines on a regular basis. Tomorrow I won't need to order it. I won't need to write it down. Somebody will know that I need that, and the nearest fellow will supply it to me. So, that's exponential technology. What it does, the third effect, is that it drives away cost. It drives away the cost curve. So you know cost curves? Normally you think of cost curves moving this way and that way, right? You learned it all in Costing 101, wherever, MBA 101. But what happens when the cost curve shifts fully? Completely shifts. At all levels of capacity utilization, the cost is different. And it will be. Because when you have used all of these exponential technologies, you'll see a new world. Last and final one I'll pick. How am I doing on time? How much time do I have?
Another 10-15 minutes.
Okay, good. That's enough. Let's take health. So, those of us who are in this role stop thinking of immunity after we gave our children vaccinations, right? उसके बाद किसी ने immunity के बारे में सोचा नहीं. Anybody thought of immunity after that? Including doctors? You have thought of it. You have thought of it. Any other person in this room who has thought of immunity after giving those? Next sochte hain. We feel we become immortal. We have doctors who have to save us from anything. The biggest advances today in the world are being done in this research area, and exponential technologies are being created to enhance human immunity through human life. How is this being done? You know, there are a few genes in us which need to get upregulated, which can change, which is immunity. Basically, it's upgrading up something, a particular identified genes. So first we needed to do the whole genome mapping. वो हो गया. अब वो genome mapping 5 साल पहले हो गया. अब उसके सब यूज निकाले जा रहे हैं. मैपिंग तो हो गया, उसका करें क्या? So you identify what is the function that each gene is playing. And there are only 2 or 3 genes which need to be upregulated in order to increase the human immunity. And it is discovered further. This research is not yet clinically tested, but it is real. Comes out of a plant extract. And what that does is helps you to completely change the way your gene will function. So there's a guy called Ray Kurzweil who opened the Singularity University 15 years ago. Anybody been there, heard about it? Maybe you have heard of Ray Kurzweil at the Singularity University. Okay, so look it up. Google search it. It is the place where they are thinking about what will happen in 2035. As all these technologies that I'm talking to you about create what is called, one word that you should take away from today, if you don't take away anything else, is abundance. Think about it. 350x enhancement in agricultural productivity. What will happen? Everything will be abundant. And the reality is that we just don't put on that lens to see how to create abundance. We are all stuck with our old lenses. GDP growth, 7% होना चाहिए, 4.5 होता है तो सबको बीमार हो जाता है. ये क्यों बीमार हो गए? अगर प्राइस कम हो गई हो 30% से, तो arithmetically it should go down, no? If you have improved the way to deliver stuff, so you got to start wearing new lenses and make sure that you are seeing the world through the prism of abundance. And it is there. The problem is that we simply don't want to turn our heads to actually experience it. And we are not willing to put our money on that table which will make this abundance happen around us. So it's a question of redefining your purpose, putting your money where your mouth is, actually experimenting, innovating, moving forward and experiencing that abundance. But let me talk about the last big thing, and that's in the area of energy. Today I can say with complete confidence, that the world will not need a single megawatt of fossil fuel-based power. In our lifetimes, that day will come. My lifetime. I'm old, but I can still say that. Because that technology has changed. Today, I'll just give you one glimpse. Instead of thinking of the solar panel which sits on every room, think of multiple mirrors organized in a way. You remember that old science experiment, all the children here? You get the sunlight, put a paper on the other side, put it through the glass, it'll burn, right? Itna power has sunlight. Now imagine that multiple such mirrors are concentrating the energy of the sun into that one location. तो इतना पावर मिल सकता है कि जिससे सब स्टील की भट्टियां चल सकती है, सब सीमेंट की भट्टियां चल सकती है. इसी में तो जाता, सबसे ज्यादा पावर इसी में जाता, भट्टी में या कूलिंग में. If you are in the other side of the melting. मैंने हाई टेम्परेचर 1600 डिग्री चाहिए, तो 1600, 1700, 2000 सब मर सकता है। और उसको केंद्रित करके, स्टोर करके डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं। वो टेक्नोलॉजी आज ह्यूमन रेस को मिल गई, लेकिन हम फिर ये कोयले का पीछा नहीं छोड़ते, है ना। इंडिया में दुनिया की सबसे ज्यादा कोयले की वेल्थ है। Did everybody know that? Is it a new statement? We have the largest reserves of coal in the world. ठीक है, पॉलिटिक्स हो जाएगी, बेनिफिसिएशन हो जाएगा, जो भी करना है कर लेंगे। बट आई एम सेइंग वी हैव दैट, बट वी ऑल्सो हैव सनलाइट। Simply a concentrated location in the desert of Rajasthan is enough to give massive power to every village, every factory, every residence in our country. So I'll stop there and I'll tell you where all these exponential technologies converge, what will happen? What is the biggest outcome, which I define as my purpose? I must also share my purpose. Is that I want to be responsible for evangelizing exponential technologies and their convergence to benefit my country. I want to see and experience a safer, more productive, richer, cleaner, better India. And if you put a string through everything that I've said, you will find that it is possible to dream of that India. There are many other technologies which I don't have the time to talk about. In every field of activity that I saw in your introduction, I can pull out an exponential technology and tell you how you can go on a leap forward path. And I'm delighted that the next gen is present here. Because you guys will have the responsibility to actually make this happen. Because you don't have bias of the past. Factory लगी नहीं है आपकी आज के दिन, तो आप जो भी लगाओगे वो एक्सपोनेंशियल टेक्नोलॉजी से लगाओगे, और ऐसा लगाओगे जिसकी प्रोडक्टिविटी दुनिया देखती रह जाए, ऐसी होगी। That is really the work cut out for all of us. Thank you very much.
Please wait. Sir. Please. We have a question and answer session over here also. Sir, I would like to ask you to just, because I heard you about, you talk about the delocalize, democratize, you just throw light on this and C2C. Please.
So what are all these exponential technologies doing? They are demonetizing. So money, value, जो हम देख रहे हैं, वो बिल्कुल निकल रही है. Demonetizing not in terms of change of currency, because anytime I say demonetize, everybody is scared and ये वापस आ गया. Demonetization नहीं चाहिए. But the point is that money is going out of the equation, so it's demonetized. It is delocalized. I can run my exponential technologies anywhere. I don't need to go to rural India to put up agriculture. I can do it in my house. You can do it in your house. I'm doing it in my house. I'm experimenting with vertical agriculture in my own home. So it's delocalized. It doesn't matter where you are located in the world. It is democratized. completely democratized. So all of us can afford it. It's not as if 5 fellows on earth can afford it. The whole world should be able to afford it. Therefore, universal basics, meeting of universal basic needs. And finally, dematerialize. So what a sensor does not require a whole lot of materials, doesn't require a whole set of machines, doesn't require all of that. It's dematerialized. You're not dependent on materials. You're dependent on the intelligence that you bring together because of converged technologies. So it is demonetized, dematerialized, delocalized, and democratized. And what that does is it shifts the cost curve. And you can think of a situation where there is hyper disinflation. हम लोग डरते हैं इन्फ्लेशन से. आधी दुनिया इन्फ्लेशन नहीं हो रहा है, उससे डर रही है. यूरोप, जापान, यूएस, सब लोग इससे डर रहे हैं कि इन्फ्लेशन नहीं हो रहा है, इन्फ्लेशन नहीं हो रहा है. सबको इन्फ्लेशन की आग जलानी. तो हो रहा है ये because of the 4Ds. Simply, as efficiency grows, how do you expect inflation? So the power to price is not the power to raise price. It's also the power to reduce price and still make value. Isn't it? So it's a new world. And C2C is the customer to customer idea, where you can sustainably do your business because you have the right network. Yours is not the same. Now imagine hyperconnectivity in your network. So sir, you can deliver that hyperconnectivity through your platform, digital platform. Now if you're hyperconnected, then you know that for each item in each node in your value chain, who can collaborate? To give a live example, let's say there are 5,000 people who are part of elite clubs. You map them, you give them a digital platform, you get them to hyperconnect, and you get them to collaborate along the entire value chain. And you're into a C2C world. We only think of the biggest problem of India is that we are caught in the cleft of a G2B world. Any organization which is into G2B mode is dying. Think about it. Anybody who has to recover money from the government is dying. Anybody who needs permission from the government is dying. Or dead. Only two choices. So if you can drag government out of business, then the G goes out of the equation, which is thank you very much. Which is what Anil Agarwal was trying to tell the three ministers.
You mentioned about Rahul Bajaj and his about the fear and the general sentiments of business community towards government. You're right saying that he expressed general feeling of the business community in today's environment because we are feeling the heat. Of course, this fear is there, which was not there, which is needed. As you said, it is definitely needed. Regularization of business and enforcement of law is definitely needed. But at what point we have to think about this. Demonetization is an example in front of us. Secondly, he was mentioning about the help which is needed for the business community. When you said generation of jobs, is government prioritization, should be government prioritization, and 6 6.5% unemployment is definitely a very big rate of unemployment compared with the world unemployment ratios. The Mudra loan scheme spent 5.457 lakh crore rupees. That is, and that generated 1.12 crore employment. That is average 5 lakh rupees per employment. What government has spent on 5.57 lakh crore rupees amount is a very big amount for a country like India. And in businesses, what we see, we are not getting help. So that way, Rahul Bajaj.
So let me sort of give you a few statistics which will sort of bring perspective to your thinking. The government of India every year raises in taxes close to about 30 lakh crores. कितने? 30 लाख. किससे आता है? हम लोग से आता है. हम लोग खर्चा करते हैं तो जीएसटी भरते हैं तो गवर्नमेंट के कॉफर में जाता है. हम लोग कमाते हैं तो डायरेक्ट टैक्स भरते हैं तो गवर्नमेंट के कॉफर में जाता है. 30 लाख. हमारी आबादी कितनी है? 1.3 करोड़. 6.5% गिन लीजिए उसका. 6.5%. कितना? Somebody quick at mathematics. 6.5% of 130 करोड़ कितना होता है? 10 करोड़. मोटा मोटी 10 करोड़ मल्टीप्लाई बाय 5 lakhs कितना होता है? बजट खत्म. जीएसटी आ नहीं रहा है, लोग काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, इनकम बढ़ नहीं रही है, डायरेक्ट टैक्स ग्रोथ 5% हो गया, जो नॉमिनल रेट ऑफ ग्रोथ was 14% has slumped to 9%. This is the reality of India. So we will need to help ourselves. That's become the big message. गवर्नमेंट कभी रेस्क्यू करने आने वाली नहीं है. आप इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी 1000 कंपनियों को पकड़ लीजिए, कौन जॉब क्रिएशन कर रहा है मुझे बताएं.
सर, गवर्नमेंट रेस्क्यू करने को नहीं आने वाली है, हम मानते हैं. हम हमारे
हमको खुला छोड़ दें, वो हम कर रहे हैं कि हमको एनेबलिंग एनवायरनमेंट दे, फिर हम कर लेंगे.
मेरे प्रॉफिट में गवर्नमेंट इज पार्टनर, मेरे लॉस में गवर्नमेंट पार्टनर नहीं है. ये बेसिक रियलिटी हम एक्सेप्ट करते हैं, मगर इसके अगेंस्ट
मैं सिर्फ ऑब्जेक्टिव नंबर दे रहा हूं. ये सब करने के बावजूद, इतना कम काम करने के बावजूद गवर्नमेंट की फिस्कल डेफिसिट इस साल 3.5% है ना. अब फिस्कल डेफिसिट बढ़ेगी तो क्या होगा? इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा. मोर मनी चेजिंग लेस गुड्स, क्या होगा? इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा. हमको वो चाहिए. So we have to choose. क्या करना है? So that's where the rub lies in the macro. I would be very delighted if every human being in India is employed. Very delighted. But we have to make it happen as Indians together. It's not going to happen because we are waiting for the government to do something. कभी नहीं होगा.
Sir, other questions are very important questions.
Sir, please.
Can you come?
First of all, it was very, very enlightening thoughts that you shared with us, the perspectives and the developments. Sir, I have a view and also a question. Rather news that everybody is aware of. The protectionism which is seen in the global, the US and the Europe, the Chinese, and followed by India, the Modi government, protecting the interest of the businessmen or business community of their own countrymen, is affecting the worldwide recession. Is the reality?
Absolutely right.
everybody knows.
Absolutely.
That is
one
one
project which we all were born with, lived, worked through, educated ourselves within is over.
It's over.
So,
So my question is, this is one of the reasons that everybody is trying to protect the interest of their countrymen.
correct.
All the powerful leaders of the world,
Narrow, narrow.
right? Now this is impacting the lives of individuals and also enhancing to great extent. There is a disparity.
Correct.
Two extremes are there, right?
Inequalities.
Inequality is being created. So my question is, how do you see the world ahead 10 years? You said 2025, I'm saying next 10 years. How is it going to impact the lives of business community like us? Coming from diverse...
Great question,
Right.
sir. I remain awake at night thinking about that because that is really the key question. How do we deal with the pressures on us? It's not a happy answer I have to give you, but it's the only answer I have, so I'm going to give it to you. I think it has become the responsibility of each one of us to innovate out of our depths. Innovate and think out of the box. And then have the courage. It has all boiled down to winning from within. सब चीज का एक ही हल मुझे आज दिख रहा है. जैसे रेसिपी बुक तो बन जाती है, रेसिपी बुक को फॉलो करके आप भी खाना बना सकते हैं, बट इफ योर वाइफ मेक्स इट, उसका स्वाद ही कुछ अलग होगा. क्यों? बिकॉज शी ब्रिंग्स हरसेल्फ to the recipe. That's where the world is going. You need to win from within. And we need to continually educate ourselves to get new perspectives. I feel obsolete every month. What I knew in November is no longer relevant in December.
Irrelevant could be other.
And if I don't keep reading, I read, last 2 years I read 500 books. And it's not because of any other reason, but I just felt that I'm left behind.
Yes, Sandeep.
Hi sir, I just wanted to understand basically 5 years down the line, what innovation you see in e-commerce and road transportation in India?
So road transport will be totally AI and sensor, completely. Driver behavior will be tracked. You can't speed. You can't sleep. You can't make wrong pit stops. You can't do rubbish of that kind. You can't cross over the divider line. It will be all tracked and mapped. It will go into the... सब आप जानते हैं, हर एक ड्राइवर ये करता है. हमको ड्राइवर से बहुत निजी रिश्ता है. एसीसी और अंबुजा में हम लोग ड्राइवर के लिए बहुत काम करें, बहुत. ये सब लगा रहे हैं, सेंसर, कैमरा, स्पीड ट्रैकिंग, रूट मैपिंग, मेकिंग श्योर दे गो बाय द बेस्ट रूट, मेकिंग श्योर वी नो कि कहाँ कुछ अगवड़ है तो फिर दूसरा रास्ता ले लो, कैसे करो. वो ड्राइवर को नहीं पता होता है ना. 5 किलोमीटर आगे कहीं ट्रैफिक जैम हो तो उससे कैसे मालूम पड़ेगा. यू नीड जीपी, ग्लोबल पोजीशन. ये
From young elites? Yeah.
So,
Take the mic. Everything is recorded. अपना mic पर बोलिए.
so the lecture was great, and based on what technology.
Ice cream, sir.
Mic over.
So based on developments in technology, development in the health sector, our average population size is just going to grow. Isn't it? Like,
That is absolutely wrong. India has stopped growing in population.
so
We are
at
on
least,
refreshment population as of today.
okay, so
not
assuming,
quite, we're just growing a little bit.
okay, so assuming there is a little growth or like a stable population, we're all talking about growth in technology and how market space is going to change and everything. So as businessmen, we can change, we can adapt, we can learn new things. But I was just wondering what happens to unskilled or semi-skilled workers? Like, if everything with machines and technologies.
Brilliant question. Again, this is a question that keeps coming back to us. So I have said that we need to recognize the root of what can educate. Okay? The root of what can educate is self-learning and a device and internet connectivity. These three things are essential for bringing the unskilled to the semi-skilled, to the skilled, to the hyper-skilled levels. There is no program on earth which can manually deliver this. This has to be given over to technology. And therefore I was very impressed by your digital platform. This is critical. And you need to put a device into the hands of every human being. Today, the total number of devices in the world exceed the human population. That's a statistic. It's a fact.
Yes, please.
Can I just add one thing? So you probably might not need as many people, right? So don't you think the unemployment rate might be affected?
So stop thinking of unemployment. Start thinking of activity. हम लोग एम्प्लॉयमेंट का क्यों सोचते हैं? क्यों हमको लगता है कि हमको जाके फैक्ट्री में बैठ के स्क्रू टाइट करना है या हथौड़ा मारना है या किसी चीज को नहीं पहुंचाना है ना? ये जॉब है ना? अब वो सब ऑटोमेटिक हो गया तो फिर हम क्या करेंगे? हमको कुछ देखना है, हमको we have to add value to that. So all that we are doing will change. And don't forget that 30% of the world's time is spent in entertainment, in activities of community. And that's going to go up to 60%. Because it will be a foreign.
Actually,
great years for you, sir.
ज्यावेळेला आपल्या देशामध्ये कॉम्प्युटर आलं त्यावेळेला खूप लोकांना प्रश्न पडला होता की हे एम्प्लॉयमेंटचं काय होणार. पण आज एवढं कॉम्प्युटरायझेशन झालेलं आहे, एम्प्लॉयमेंट वाढलेली आहे. इट विल टेक केअर. आपलं नाव यू हॅव टू टेल युअर नेम अँड देन आस्क द क्वेश्चन.
Sir, my name is Yash. My basic question is that there are, you talked about abundance. So the abundance we right now have is waste. So for example, a man in Hyderabad found that he can make petrol out of plastic.
Absolutely.
So why aren't many
अपने इंडिया में वो इधर है, अपने बाजू में है, उसको बुला सकते हैं वहाँ. वो प्लास्टिक में से तेल बनाते हैं.
हाँ. So why aren't there?
टेक्नोलॉजी बोलते हैं उसको.
Yeah. So there must be many other research papers like this. So why aren't many corporates taking up the responsibility of taking waste as a resource?
पैसा नहीं बनता आज के दिन, इसलिए. I'm giving you the honest answer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Shailesh.
Sir, in continuation of the question of unemployment, we have seen government is coming up with online processes and everything. So most of the business got affected because of that. Like chartered accountant firms, many chartered accountant firms, they closed their offices because of the simplicity of the procedures. In respect of IoT, what do you see? Which are the industries or the professionals or the service providers may get hit because of that? Like service engineers.
So everybody will have to change their definition of work. It is ubiquitous. Each and every one. I was defining my work as doing auditing now. 15 साल पहले मैं अपने somebody had pulled me out from my sleep and asked me क्या करते हो? Audit करता हूँ. कैसे करते हो? कभी लेजर खोलता हूँ, वाचर देखता हूँ, टिक मारता हूँ, करता हूँ. वो सब बेकार हो गया. So to move on.
Big short question.
Another second question about the cost of the technology. Whether we can face the system that is cost of technology to adapt this technology, which may incur for the service providers. So it will get reduced. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's a struggle. That's an absolute struggle. We need to find ways of investing in technology. And we need to find the path to the lowest cost technology. Now, let me tell you what Google has missed the bus on. Google, in monetizing search, gives preference to those who have paid for coming up first. Correct? Have all of you noticed that? आपको flowers भेजने हो from Altamont Road to Pedder Road, तो गूगल पे आप सर्च करोगे तो वो लंदन से फ्लावर भेजेगा, क्योंकि लंदन वाले ने ज्यादा पैसा दिया है सर टू कम अप ऑन टॉप। फिर लंदन छोड़ के वो पेरिस जाएगा, पेरिस छोड़ के वो पोलैंड जाएगा, फिर बाद में गुडविल फ्लोरेस्ट का नाम आएगा एकदम कहीं चौथे पेज पे। तो ये दोष है, उसने अपना पर्पस रीडिफाइन करना, बाकी वो मर जाएगा।
Yes. Sir, my name is Vineet and I work in the mental well-being of humans. The World Economic Forum has done a research recently which says 60% of entrepreneurs are suffering from depression. How can technology handle human depression or emotional well-being?
It's a fantastic question, but I would point everybody in the direction of 3 books that I think are must reading for everybody in this room. They are written by a gentleman called Yuval Harari. He first wrote Homo sapiens, then he wrote Homo Deus, and then he wrote 21 Challenges of the 21st Century. And I would say that this is absolute must read for everybody in this room. Absolutely must read. He is the most popular author among CEOs of the world.
So can you repeat? Can you repeat the name?
The name is Yuval Harari. Yuval, he's an Israeli fellow who comes to Nasik, sir. Nasik आता है? हाँ, नासिक आ रहा है, वो अपना क्या करता है, वो चुप बैठने का क्या होता है, 15 दिन चुप बैठने
Ajit Patil, so can you repeat the name of the book? Yes, sir.
You said that G2B business will go down. So you have to disengage with the government.
I'm not saying you're disengaged. I'm saying you have to craft your path very carefully.
But when you craft your path and when you have innovative ideas or anything, when you are going to execute it, you have to take all the compliances from the government, and it takes around 70% of the energy.
So this is why Rahul Bhai, Anil Bhai, in public forums and all keep saying, "आप निकलो business में से, तो हमको आपसे जुड़ना नहीं पड़ेगा."
So we have to do that job and let somebody else do the work.
No, and that's the problem, you know. That's what his son said in the interview the next day. Rajiv went and said, "My father speaks because it's like putting a red rag before a bull if you give him a forum like that." But he's a loner. Nobody supports him. Nobody talks the same language.
Sandeep sir.
Sir, so this has been a very nice introspective session since there are lots of things going on the same day, as I said, because these platforms have opened and the whole entertainment equations have changed. And as I said, the community is becoming global and you have to, so one has to rethink and everything is going on. We're doing a lot of analytics also, what is happening. And say, like we wanted to start with a YouTube channel or an OTT platform of our own. But then we are doing a lot of analytics to understand basically where it is going because, everybody started. So, whereas now this concept of, what do you say, the purpose of now the whole, rethinking will go into what will be the purpose of doing this. Yeah. And so if you can just guide me and help me with where this is going globally or...
The technology is trying to get mapping and mapping along variables which are valuable to you today for your business. So I don't need to track everything that's going on in the world. I need to track what is. I'm doing a valuation today. So I need to track the steel industry में जब पिछले 50 valuation हुए तब कैसे valuation हुए? I need that narrow analysis. So you need to define for your own business what are the variables that are going to make your business improve, and then find a way to do analytics on that narrow niche. That's what's going to help you and give you insight. The idea is keep searching for insight. Don't keep searching for a solution. Search for insight.
Sir, last question.
Sir, it's very good and eye-opening. How about this health industry and yoga industry, especially our ancient wisdom, is going to affect this?
It's having a huge impact. Yoga has been put on the global map, thinking map, only in the last 5 years. It's amazing. You know, when I used to travel abroad earlier, we used to see people doing, what's it called, Korean cheese, Chinese cheese, Tai Chi, something. अब मैं देखता हूँ योगा करने.
It's great, very good.
Yes, sir. Last question.
Yes, it's a really enlightening session, in fact, and I have a basic question. What thought-provoking it is that you said that it is activity-driven. Sandeep will have a great time in the future. So, entertainment or activity being the focus, current education system is driving people into money-driven or competitive flow of life, and it's pushing everyone into what Vinit said is depression. So how parents and the educationists should focus on future generation kids' education and development?
Brilliant question. I have only one answer. Step away. Step away. Honestly. Don't think that you know the whole world. They know the world. Let them experience it. Let them choose. Let them decide which niche they want to go into. I was telling the bunch of youngsters in the beginning that I can hardly find 2 people who want to do the same thing anymore in a group of 20. If you go around and get introductions from all of them, you'll find each of them doing something different. That should tell you something. But you need to step away. It's so simple. I've stepped away. My daughter works for Disney, my son works for IFL. I don't care.
Sir, thank you very much. Please be there. साडे क्लबचे सेक्रेटरी जनरल बगाडे सरांना विनंती करतो की सरांचा सन्मान करायचा.
It was such a pleasure to be here. That is the best gift I can get. I was so impressed and inspired by everything that happened today.
खरं इतकं सुंदर सरांचं मार्गदर्शन झालंय. जोरदार टाळ्यांनी स्टँडिंग ओवेशन आपल्याला मिळते. थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू सो मच फॉर शेअरिंग युअर विजडम विथ अस. थँक्यू सो मच. बगाडे सरांना विनंती करतो की त्यांनी छोटंसं गिफ्ट आणि मोमेंटो सरांना द्यायचं.
Oh wow, very good. I love it. So I just want to take one feedback from all of you.
Please, आपण स्थानापन्न व्हावं.
Please. How many of, and I do this after every board meeting and every committee meeting that I am in, so it's not unusual. How many thought that your time with me on a scale of 0 to 10 was between 0 and 5? You spent some time with me today. This morning you gave me your valuable time. On a scale of 0 to 10, would you evaluate it as worthy of a score of, on a scale of 0 to 10, between 0 and 5?
I would say 10.
यंग एलिट्स, तुम्हाला काय याच्यातून व्हॅल्यू मिळाली असं वाटतंय? हाऊ यू विल रेट हिम?
So that's the question. So how many of you think it was 5 to 8?
So 11, sir.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.